Dear students, welcome to another video tutorial on operating system. And today's topic is deadlock. Myself, Niladji Shekhar Pal. I am working as an assistant professor at Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management under JIS Group at Computer Science and Engineering Department. College situated at Badipur. So, what is deadlock? Basically, deadlock is a situation, okay, where more than one processes holds some resources and waiting for another resources. Okay. So what is deadlock? A deadlock happens in operating system when two or more processes need some resources to complete their execution that is held by other process. Suppose there are two processes P1 and P2. P1 holded R1 resource and P2 holds R2 resource. Okay. For executing P1 process, it requires R2 resource. Okay, but R2 resource is held by P2 process. Okay, so P1 process will not execute until the P2 process is release the R2 resource. Okay, this condition is called the deadlock. Okay, so this is the pictorial representation of deadlock. As you can see that there are two processes, process 1 and process 2. Process 1 basically holds the resource R1, okay, and it waiting for resource R2, whereas process 2 holds the resource R2 and waiting for the resource R1 to execute, okay. So the process 1, as you can see that the process 1 has resource 1 and needs acquire resource 2. Okay. And similarly process 2 has resource 2 and needs to acquire resource 1. Okay. So process 1 and process 2 are in deadlock situation as each of them needs the other's resources to complete their execution, but neither of them is willing to release their existing resources until they complete their job. Okay. So this situation is called the deadlock situation. Okay. So neither process P1 will execute, neither process P2 will execute as both the process requires some resource which is held by another process. Okay. So this is a deadlock situation. Now what are the necessary conditions for deadlock? Basically there are four conditions for deadlock. Okay. Number one is mutual exclusion. So what is mutual exclusion? There should be a resource that can only be held by one process at a time. Okay. And when two people meet in the landings, they can't just walk through because there is space only for one person. Okay. So when there are two people in the landings, they can't wait just walk through. Okay. So they could not able to walk because the space is for the one person. These conditions basically allow one person to use step between them, okay, is the first condition necessary for the occurrence of the deadlock. Okay, so what is the condition? This condition to allow only one person, or you can say that one process to use the step between them is the first condition necessary for the occurrence of the deadlock. So only one person or the one process will be able to step. Okay, in the diagram below, okay, we can see that the resource 1 and it is held by process 1 only, okay, and it will wait for another process. Okay, so this is the mutual exclusion. Next one is hold and wait. In this condition process must be prevented from holding one or more resources while simultaneously waiting for one or more others. Okay, so in this condition, processes must be prevented, okay, from holding one or more resources while it is waiting for other resources. A process can hold basically multiple resources and still request more resources from the processes which are holding them. Okay, so a process may acquire few resources. Suppose P1 process must acquire R1, R2 resource, and it may request for other resources R3 or R4. Okay, which is held by or which is holding by another process like P2 or P3. Okay, when the two people refuses to retreat and hold their grounds, it is called holding. Okay, this is next necessary condition for the deadlock. Suppose there is a place, okay, there is a land, okay, and both the people acquired that place, okay, and both the people told that this place belongs to them, okay. So this condition is called the deadlock condition. You can see that in the diagram, okay, process 2 holds resource 2, okay. So you can see that this process 2 holds this resource 2 and resource 3, okay. So process 2 holds both the resource 2 and resource 3, and it is requesting the resource 1 which is held by the process 1, and process 1 requests resource 1 which is already allocated to process 1, okay. So this condition is called the deadlock condition or hold and wait condition by which deadlock occurs. Why deadlock occurs? This is process P2. Process P2 holds resource R1, R2 and R3, and it requires resource 1 to complete its execution or to complete its job, okay. But the resource R1 is allocated to process 1, okay, and process 1 will not release resource 1 until it will get or it will complete its execution. So the deadlock condition becomes arise, okay. So this is the basically hold and wait condition. Next is no preemption. Preemption of process resource allocation can avoid the conditions of deadlock wherever possible. For resolving the deadlock, one can simply cancel one of the processes for other to continue. But operating system does not do so. It allocates the resource to the process for as much time needed until the task is completed. Okay. Hence, there is no temporary reallocation of the resources. It is the third condition of the deadlock. Okay. So in the diagram below, we can see that the process 2 holds the resource 2. Okay. And it requests for the resource R1. Okay. And process 1 hold the resource R1. Okay. So what will happen? It will only process 1 will only release the R resource R1, okay, after its completion, not before its completion, okay. So both, so the process P2 will be in the deadlock situation. This is called the no preemption condition. I am telling once again, suppose this is a process P2, P process 2 has allocated resource R2. So resource R2 is allocated to process 2, and the process P2 requires the resource 1 and it requests for it. But this process resource 1 is holded or allocated to process 1, and process 1 will leave this resource 1 after its completion, not before that. So the process 2 will not be able to complete its execution until it will get the resource 1. Better to say until process 1 will complete its execution. Next one is circular wait. When the two people refuses to retreat and wait for each other to retreat so they can complete their task, it is called circular wait. A process is waiting for the resource held by the second process, which is waiting for the resource held by the third process, and so on, till the last process is waiting for a resource held by the first process. Okay. Suppose process P1 is waiting for a resource R2, and R2 is P2 is waiting for a resource for R3. Okay. Now P3 is waiting for another resource for P4, and P4 is waiting for a. I'm telling once again, suppose P1 is a process P1 is holding R1 resource and request for R2, okay, and P2 holding R2 and request for R3, and P3 holding R2 and request for R4, okay. So this is the circular wait condition, okay. This form a circular chain. For example, process 1 is allocated resource 2 and it is requested resource 1, okay. So as you can see that this is process 1, this is process 2. Process 1 is requested for resource 1 which is allocated to process 2, and again process 2 requested for resource 2, which is allocated to process 1. Okay, so neither process 1 will execute, neither process 2 will execute. So process 1 is holding the resource R2 and it is waiting for resource R1, and process 2 holding R1 and requested for R2. Okay, so this is the circular wait condition. Okay, so due to the circular wait, deadlock situation may arise. So what is live lock? It is basically a variant of deadlock. Okay, this is a situation in which two or more processes simultaneously change their state in response to changes in the other processes without doing any useful work. This is similar to deadlock in that no progress is made but differs in that neither process is blocked or waiting for it. A human example of live lock would be two people who met face to face in a corridor, okay, and each moves aside to let the other pass, but they end up swaying from side to side without making any progress because they always move the same way at the same time. Okay, so this is the live lock condition. Now, what is the difference between deadlock and starvation? Deadlock is basically a situation where no process got blocked and no process proceeds. Okay, and starvation is a situation where the low priority process got blocked and the high priority process proceeds. Okay, so in case of deadlock, we did not see whether the process will the highest priority or low priority will okay, but in case of starvation, we will look forward to the low priority process or the highest priority process. Okay, we will give, we will get executed. Okay, the highest priority process, and we will make hold the, or we will get blocked. We will block the low priority process. Deadlock is an infinite waiting, but starvation is a long way in waiting, but not infinite. Okay, we cannot overcome deadlock situation, or we can say that if we do not try to overcome it, we will not able to remove deadlock. It is an infinite waiting. Okay, when in a if any process is in a deadlock situation, it will be in deadlock situation for infinite time. Okay, if we do not solve it. But starvation is a long waiting. In starvation, any process can be waited for long, but not for the infinite time. Okay. Every deadlock is always a starvation, but every starvation need not to be deadlock. Okay. So every deadlock is always a starvation, but every starvation is not a deadlock. The requested resource is blocked by the other process. In case of deadlock, the requested resource is blocked by the other processes. But in case of starvation, the requested resource is continuously be used by the higher priority processes. Okay. Deadlock happens when mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, and circular wait occurs simultaneously. Okay. But starvation occurs due to the uncontrolled priority and resource management. Okay. So starvation when occurs, it occurs due to the uncontrolled priority and resource management. Okay. So I am again telling you once again what is the difference between deadlock and situation. Deadlock is basically a situation where no process got blocked, okay, and no process proceeds. But in case of starvation, it is a situation where the low priority process got blocked and the highest priority process proceeds. Deadlock is an infinite waiting, whereas starvation is a long waiting but not infinite. Every deadlock is a starvation, okay, but every starvation need not to be a deadlock. In case of deadlock, the requested resource is blocked by the other process, but in case of starvation, the requested resource is continuously being used by the higher priority process. Deadlock happens when mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, and circular waits occur simultaneously. But starvation occurs due to the uncontrolled priority and resource management. Now, how will handle the deadlock? Okay, what are the strategies for handling deadlock? Number one is deadlock ignorance. ignore ignorance means we have to ignore the deadlock situation. Okay, so ignorance is most widely used approach among all the mechanisms by which deadlock can be handled. So this is being used by many operating systems, mainly for end users. Okay, so deadlock ignorance is used by the end users. In this approach, the operating system assumes that deadlock never occurs. Okay? So we will always think that deadlock is not happening. That's the main idea behind deadlock ignorance is that the operating system assumes that there is no deadlock. Okay? It simply ignores the deadlock. This approach is best suitable for single and end user systems, where users the system only for browsing and all other normal stuff. Okay, so deadlock ignorance is best for users who are using only browsing or normal working. Okay, next one is deadlock prevention. Okay, deadlock happens only when mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, and circular wait holds simultaneously. Okay, so when deadlock happens only when mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, and circular wait holds simultaneously. Okay, if it is possible to violate one of the four conditions at any time, then the deadlock can never occur in the system. The four conditions for deadlock is mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, and circular wait. Okay. So if we somehow able to check whether that one of these four conditions never happen, okay, then the deadlock can be prevented. The idea behind the approach is very simple, that we have to fail one of the four conditions, but there can be big argument on its physical implementation in the system. Next one is deadlock avoidance. We have to avoid the deadlock. In deadlock avoidance, the operating system checks whether the system is in safe state or in unsafe state at every state of which operating system performs. Okay, so in every steps of operating system performance, we have to check whether it is in safe state or in the unsafe state. The process continues until the system is in safe state. Okay, so we have to check this, or we have to perform these steps until the system is in the safe state. Okay, once the system moves to unsafe state, the OS has to backstep one step. Okay, so when the operating system moves to unsafe state, okay, the OS has to backtrack one step. Okay, so if we go to the unsafe state, we will again go back to the safe state. In simple word, the OS reviews each allocation so that the allocation does not cause the deadlock in the system. Okay. Next one is deadlock detection. This approach lets the process fall in deadlock and then periodically check whether the deadlock occurred in the system or not. Okay. So in this deadlock detection process, we have to check whether the process is in deadlock state or not. Okay. We have to check whether the system is in deadlock or not. If it occurs, then it applies some of the recovery methods to the system to get rid of deadlock. If we found that their system is in deadlock state after deadlock detection algorithm, we will try to recover it from the deadlock. After the deadlock is detected, it can be resolved using the following methods. Number one method is all the processes that are involved in the deadlock are terminated. Okay, so due to those processes, the deadlock become okay, or the deadlock happens, we have to terminate all those processes. But this is not a good approach. Okay, as we have to destroy that processes. The next one is resources can be preempted from some processes and given to others till the deadlock is resolved. Another way to deadlock detection, or the after deadlock detecting to resolve the process, is resource can be preemption of resources. Okay, we will can preempted some resources. Now what is resource allocation graph? This is very important to check whether our system is in deadlock or not. So it gives the complete information about the states of a system, such as how many processes exist in the system, how many instances of each resource type exist, how many instances of each resource types are allocated, how many instances of each resource types are still available, how many instances of each resource type are held by each process, and how many instances of each type does each process needs for execution. So all these six informations are available from resource allocation graph. Okay. So what are the components of RAG? So the components of RAG are vertices and edges. Okay. And what are the redefined types of vertices? As we can see that there are two types of vertices. One is process vertices and the next one is resource vertices. Resource vertices is again divided into two parts. One is single instance and next one is multiple instance. Okay. Now what are the use of process vertices? Process vertices basically represent the processes. They are drawn as a circle by mentioning the name of the process inside the circle. Resource vertices. Resource vertices basically represents the resources, okay? Depending on the number of instances that exists in the system, resource vertices may be single instance or multiple instance. They are drawn as a rectangle by mentioning the dots inside the rectangle. Suppose there is a rectangle and R for resource R1 and R1 is written on this that rectangle. Okay, if R1 is held by two processes, then there will be two dot. Okay, suppose R1 is held by one process, then there will be a single dot. Okay, so how many there? If there are two instances, then there are two dots. Okay. So the number of dots inside the rectangle indicates the number of instances of that resource existing in the system. So what are the different types of edges? There are two types of basically edges. One is assign edges and the next one is request edges. Okay. So in case of assign edges, it represents the assignment of resources to the process. They are drawn as an arrow where the head of the arrow points to the process. Okay. And tail of the process points to the instance of the resource. Request edges, it represents basically the waiting state of the process for the resources. They are drawn as an arrow where the head of the arrow points to the instance of the resource, okay? And tail of the process points to the process. If a process requires n instances of a resource type, then n assigns edges will be drawn, okay? Now we will do an example of resource allocation graph. Here you can see that there are three processes P1, P2 and P3. Okay. So and there are two resources R1 and R2. R2 has only one instance and R2 has two instances. So two instances, one is held by P2 and another one is held by P3. And R1 has one instance and that is held by P1. P1 held is held by R1 and requested for R2. Okay, and P2 is held by R2 and requested for R1. Okay, and P3 held R2, but it does not request for anything. Okay, so there exist three processes in the system, namely P1, P2, and P3. There exist two resources in the system, namely R1 and R2. So there are two resources. There exists a single instance of R1. Okay, so R1 has only one instance and R2 has two instances. Process P1 holds one instance of resource that is R1 and is waiting for another instance of resource that is R2. Okay. Process P2 holds one instance of resource R2 and is waiting for another instance of resource R1. Process P3 holds one instance of resource R2 and is not waiting for nothing. Okay, so we can easily detect deadlock using RAG. Okay, so using resource allocation graph, it can be easily detected whether the system is in deadlock state or not. Okay, so what are the rules? Basically, we have two rules. One is for when the total instance, okay, if all the resources have single instance, and rule 2 is for when all the resources have multiple instances, or any resource has multiple instances. So at first rule 1, in a resource allocation graph where the resource are single instance, okay. If a cycle is being formed, then the system is in a deadlock state, okay. So if a cycle formed, that is P1 is P1 held R1 and waiting for R2, and P2 held R2 and waiting for R1. So the cycle created, okay. So we can say that there is a deadlock. If no cycle is being formed, then the system is not in a deadlock state, okay. So if there is no cycle created, we can say that the system is not in a deadlock state. And in rule 2, in a resource allocation graph where all the resources are not in a single instance, if a cycle is being formed, then system may be in a deadlock state, okay. We can confirmly, do not say confirmly that it is in a deadlock state. We can use Banker's algorithm, okay, to confirm whether the system is in deadlock situation or not. If no cycle is being formed, then the system is not in a deadlock state, okay. Presence of a cycle is a necessary but not a sufficient condition for the occurrence of a deadlock, okay. So now we will check a problem, okay, by which using RAC we can detect whether it is in deadlock or not, okay. So this is a problem. So there are two pulses P1 and P2, okay. P1 hold R1 and request for R2, and P2 hold R2 and request for R1, okay. So all the resource R1 and R2 have single instance, okay. So we can use rule 1, okay. So we can see that there is a cycle formed. This is a cycle, okay. So the given resource allocation graph in single instance is a cycle contained in it, okay. So the cycle created, okay. So we can say that the system is in a deadlock state, okay. So it is in a deadlock state, okay. Next, do it using rule 2. For rule 2, we have to draw a resource allocation graph. So this is process P1, this is process P2. P1 hold R1, that is why this is 1. P2 holds only R2, that is why it is 1. P1 does not hold R2, that is why it is 0. P2 does not hold R1, that is why it is 0. P1 required R2, that is why it is 1. P2 required R1, that is why it is 1. P1 does not require R1, that is why it is 0. P1 does not require R2, that is why it is 0. So we can see that the available matrix we can create by need minus allocation, okay. So available for R1 is 1 minus 1, that is 0, and for available for R2 is also 1 minus 1, that is 0. So there are no instance available currently, and both the process requires a resource to execute, okay. So therefore none of the process can be executed, and both keeps waiting infinitely. So we can say that the system is in a deadlock state. So let's do another example. Here we have three processes, P1, P2 and P3, and there are two resources R1 and R2. R1 has one instance and R2 has two instances. So we have to use rule 2 here, okay. So from the figure we can see that P1 only hold R1, P2 hold only R2, and P3 only hold R2. P1 required R2. How you can understand that P1 required R2? There is a arrow from P1, okay. So we can see that, and it goes to R2. So R2 is required. Process P2, there is an arrow from process P2 to R1. So P2 required R1. There is no arrow from P3. So P3 does not require any resources. And there is no available matrix right now, okay. As P1 as R1 has only one instance and it is held by P1, and R2 has two instances and it is already held by P2 and P3, okay. So there is no available matrix available R1 and R2 resources, okay. So as we can see that P1 process required 0 R1, 1 R2, P2 required 1 R1, 0 R2, and P3 required 0R1 and 0R2. Okay, so P3 does not require any resources, so we can easily execute P3 process. Okay, so after completing P3 process, it will release its resources. Okay, so it will release one R2 resource. Okay, so the new R2 resource will be 1 from 0. Okay, so the new available matrix is R1 0 and R2 1. Okay, so now we have two processes, process P1 and process P2. P1 required 0 R1 and 1 R2, and P2 required 1 R1 and 0 R2. So we can easily execute P1 process. Okay, and after executing P1 process, P1 will release its resource, that it will release R1 resource. Okay, so after executing P1 process, the new available matrix will be R1, R11 and R21, and P2 required R11 and R20. So P2 process easily will execute now. Okay, so this is the new matrix. It has P R11 and R22, and process P2 has already executed. So the shape sequence is P3, P1 and P2. Shape sequence means if all the of these three processes, that is P3, P1 and P2, executes in this sequence, that is at first P3, after that P1 and after that P2. Okay, so that process will be, there will be no deadlock situation. The system will be in the safe state. So students, this is all about deadlock and how to you detect deadlock, how to prevent deadlock. Okay, what are the resource allocation graph. Okay, how you can detect deadlock using resource allocation graph. Okay, so if you have liked my video, you can subscribe my channel. If you have any doubt, you can write on the comment section, or you can visit www.facebook.com/digital classroom Niladripal and like my page. Okay. In our next tutorial, we will discuss about the banker's algorithm, which is also very important. So students, for that period, thank you. See you again. Stay safe. Stay at home. Be safe.